Ooh, I accidentally left the background image going. Oopsie, boop. Oh, there we go. What's up, everybody? It's me, DH Thorne, coming at you live on this glorious Thursday. Uh, I don't know if I would call it the most beautiful Thursday here where we are. It's a little bit rainy and a little bit fishy out, but it's pretty good otherwise. And my bird just flew away, and she's back. There she is. So she's going to distract me for a little while. I figured I'd let her out while I did some of this stream today, but she's a little aggravated now. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, let's make sure the stream's working good in all of the places that it's streaming. Let's see here. We've got people on YouTube. So Maiden Liberty looks like she's on YouTube. And she says, finally first. Yes, you made it. You're the first one here for the first time. So let me know where you guys are watching from. If you're watching from if you guys are watching from YouTube, make sure you let me know you're on YouTube. If you're watching on Rumble, let me know you're on Rumble. They both should be working pretty equally, I believe, now. All right, I'm getting all clear on YouTube, so that means technically Rumble should be working good too. So, all right, guys, so we're going to, of course, do what is sometimes called satsang, question and answer today, if you guys want. But I definitely had some stuff on my mind today, just because in general, with everything going on, it brings to mind a lot of things, that I went through as a kid and that I channeled as a kid. So I figured I'd talk about some of that. And I figured, of course, we'd talk about current events as best as we can. At this point, if I get knocked off of YouTube because I say something they don't like, oh fucking well. I like using Rumble anyway now. I don't really mind. If you guys are looking at the two platforms, I've got pretty much double the number of people watching on Rumble right now, and that's with 5 minutes notice for most of you guys. So Rumble is clearly where a lot of the future is going to be for people like me. Doesn't mean I will abandon YouTube at all, because I do anticipate a time coming when, if YouTube remains a functional platform, like if they don't lose their market, if they don't get knocked out of the market because of the bullshit that's going on. You have to remember that Google is a DARPA project originally, if my memory serves. It's definitely a shadow government program. Google, Alphabet, this is not a company that is clean. This is a company that has ties deep in the deep state of the government. And it is possible, maybe even likely, that when this is all over, Google may collapse, may go the way of old Microsoft. And that's probably more likely what's to happen. I don't think that what the so-called white hats are doing is destructive to society. I think what's going to ultimately happen is the more nefarious agents and the more nefarious systems will be, wherever possible, they will be redeemed. They will be reconfigured so that they will no longer be toxic to human activity, at least not to the degree they were. So I am anticipating, so like Disney, Google, Facebook, Twitter, all of these things are going to be most likely, for the most part, there's probably going to be some exceptions, but for the most part, they will be recaptured and brought back in to something less, bad. But there's a lot of money to be made in the alt tech industry. And right now, alt tech is where it's at. That's where all the movement is. If you're trying to build a channel, it's a growing platform. So any of the better alt tech platforms, I hesitate to endorse Twitter, because Twitter is, while you could argue that Rumble is socially engineered too, like they all are, social media is by definition, in my opinion, a form of social engineering. I don't really give a shit who's doing it. It may not be the government. It may just be some influencer, but it's social engineering. So you're going to want to always be mindful. But I would say, in order of platforms that I see with the most future, it's going to be Rumble, Twitter, or X. And then from there, everything is just maintaining. No, I don't think Truth Social is ever going to depose X or Twitter. I have a feeling that at some point it's going to be bought out or something. Trump will make his millions off of that, billions really. I think he's already divesting himself, if I remember correctly. I don't remember. Don't quote me. I don't remember that. I don't follow him that closely. For those, there's people out there who think I'm some kind of a massive Trump supporter. While I do personally want him to be president, while I pragmatically, but I also feel like there's no point. I already see what's coming. I may endorse him going forward, but it's not. This isn't about him. It's never been about him for me. Everyone that got mad at me in 2020 for saying that I was voting for him, or that I had nice things to say about him. I mean, I got death threats over it, guys. So it was never about him. It's about what he represents. He's a figurehead. He is the front man. Just like you're a fool if you think that he's the one in charge of all of this. Like he is no, he is a scapegoat. He's an Azazel character. He is the figurehead. Yes, he makes decisions. I'm not saying he doesn't. But what I'm saying is he's not a puppet. He's not an empty suit, but he is not the operation. He is just the main front man. If you do not like him, that's okay. There's plenty of times where I wish we had someone that was more respectable or more this or more that. But I had a friend that I would say it to them like this. If your house is in the middle of burning down and everybody that you love is in that house, do you care if the fireman likes to go to strip clubs or has a little bit of a gruff or bombastic or it says stupid shit? Do you care if they are the most, debonair, stately person? No, of course not. You want them to put the fire out. You want them to get your family out of the fucking burning building, and you want to get back to life as normal. That's what you want. You don't want the other guys, okay? And the other guys are not good. This is the thing you guys probably understand, being part of my audience. You probably already understand this, but your friends and family do not, is they do not understand. I had one person say to me the other day, well, you're still just choosing the lesser of two evils, and that's a blah, blah, blah. That lesser of two evils line, while it is an important thing to be aware of, when you say it like that, you're purity spiraling. So what are you going to? You're going to wait for Jesus Christ himself to arrive. You're going to wait for, or your version of whatever your ideal there. It's never going to happen. If you're going to wait for a savior, you're never going to make anything happen. So you've got to compromise a little bit. You do have to choose the lesser of various evils. I can't stand it when that, is like that's a reason, right? Like it's still evil. Yes, it is still evil. I understand what you're saying, but that's life. Everything we do is life, is like that. We all make choices based upon a hierarchy of needs, desires, blah, 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 blah. It is never perfect. We must always compromise in order to get where we want to go. There aren't any situations in pragmatic, mundane life that aren't like that. There's not a single thing that you do that isn't a compromise with evil on some level, especially on the mystical, philosophical level. Everything about material, mortal life is evil. And by evil, we don't necessarily mean the manifestations of evil, the appearances of evil, the symptoms of evil. Like murder is a symptom of evil, but evil itself is something more fundamental. And evil is not good or bad. Neither is goodness good or bad. Evil is a form of ignorance. It is a form of instead of knowing the divine, it's an ignorance. It's a denial of the divine. It's a denial of the truth. The only thing, see, here's the thing scientists used to talk about long ago in like sci-fi movies. They would often say, well, if beings are more advanced and can fly between the stars, then therefore they must be more advanced in other ways too. And that their knowledge of the truth of space and time gives them a better understanding of things. Well, here's the deal, guys. The more you have gnosis of the divine, the truth, when I say the divine, I don't mean in a being, in a personified sense. I'm talking about something that transcends that, the truth, the consciousness, the being, the ultimate. So when I tell you, when you have knowledge of the divine, there is a tendency, let's put it this way. that knowledge of the divine is the good. That's goodness. That is goodness. When you are aware of your true nature, then there is goodness. Now, the thing is, goodness doesn't necessarily mean that you're a goody two shoes. You're a a nun or something. You may still be capable of all the same evils. In fact, if you're familiar, if you're familiar with the, I forget who wrote it, but it's this old Reddit thread, I think, or was it, no, maybe it was Above Top Secret, whatever it was. There was this forum where it had this guy claiming to be part of the Hidden Hand, and that he really speaks for the Illuminati. He's supposed to do this, like they elect people to do this when they enter certain periods of time, and that they've been engineering the world to be as bad as possible. And this hurts them because they're actually really noble and good beings. They're not evil. They're actually so good that they have agreed to play the role of evil, to commit the sin, to do the evil, to corrupt mankind so that we can better evolve. And the whole point is to get humanity to a certain threshold of good or bad, so that there can be a shift, and so on, blah, 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 blah. Now, I don't ascribe to this as a reality. I note it. I acknowledge it. It's in my maybe pile. It's a thing that someone claims, and they did a very good job of tying it together with various different esoteric principles, mystical truths, as well as deep conspiracy theory truths. But it was kind of on the nose, if that makes sense. And I don't buy it, but I don't disbelieve it. It's one of those things where it could be true. It has certain elements of the truth in it, I think. But it's hard to say, because there's different layers to all of this. As they put it, if memory serves, they described it, it's a very small number of beings doing this. It's not billions or millions. It's a very small number of beings, and most of their underlings have no idea what's going on. They are evil in the way they appear. They are disgusting. They are pedophiles. They are this and that. But the ones running the thing, the hidden masters, the hidden hand, which I only heard about like a few weeks ago, actually. I think it was like a month ago. Someone posted it on my Discord. Until then, I just called, I of course there's a group. Of course there is a hidden hand. Of course there is a hidden masters club. Of course there is the eye of the pyramid in its pinnacle. You notice that the eye of the pyramid's never touching the pyramid. Of course there is an off-world interdimensional hand, manipulating everything. Of course there is. Of course. In fact, I think it would be really irresponsible, to assume that there isn't. Does that mean it's good or bad? Well, I think that, just like different countries and different factions can control different islands of the Pacific, but not necessarily be the president of the island. Like you can have these little, islands in the South Pacific or wherever that they don't have a government, but they're sort of technically part of the Malaysia, nation, or Australia or something, but they're not part of that. It's, what I'm saying? It's like, it's within their territory, but it's not their island, right? The Earth is a little bit like that. And there, that could be, right? I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm saying it could be. But even in those cases, those islands would still be, they'd still be administered to some degree. There'd still be an authority saying, don't go there, or you can go there, or if you go there, here are the rules. When you're dealing with the natives, make sure you're vaccinated or something, so that the natives don't catch bubonic shit death, or whatever the hell it is now. And here's Bird, by the way. Hi, everybody. It's my little Jewel. Chirp, 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 chirp. Can you hear her chirping? Chirp, chirp. There she is. Here she is. Hey, everybody. Say hi to Jewel, everybody. She's a little mini parrot, by the way. They call them a parrotlet. And she's a little grungy. She likes to pluck, but we do what we can to keep her from plucking too much. She still does it a little bit, but she doesn't really go bald, although she gets like bare spots. She doesn't really go bald. And she's upset because my wife left the room. All right. So say hi to Jewel, everybody. All right. So back on track here. I'm a little bit distracted. I got to admit, I'm a little bit distracted. Let me go to the chats here. Oh yeah, we got a lot of people chatting on YouTube. All right. So I'll get to those in a moment. So yeah, I do want to talk about things like past lives, timelines, future events. And that brings me back to Trump a little bit. I don't want to talk about Trump all afternoon because it's not really, like I said, you don't have to like Trump. If you're one of my fans or friends or followers that just, you're never going to support or vote for Trump. Actually, let's put it this way. You're never going to vote for Trump, but you're starting to realize that maybe, the powers that be on the other side are really, really bad and you don't know what to do. You can abstain. You don't have to participate in the coming, choice-making ritual that this country pretends to go through every few years. Because I got to tell you, just like the outcome of the last one was rigged or determined, this one's going to be as well. The question is, in what way? And this is really difficult for most of the people that I know, including people that I communicate with privately. A lot of you guys just aren't clued in. You're not tuned in. You don't realize that the level of social engineering that's going on right now is off the charts. It's never been this extreme before. I don't mean because there's some kind of a culture war going on. Even that culture war is an artificial. All right, listen, you guys. Can you guys hear? Is this? Hey, honey, is this interfering with the sound too much? Hold on. We have two, by the way. We have a boy and a girl, and right now they're both scolding. Guys, I'm doing a show. It's not too bad. It's probably like treating it as noise and kind of evening it out. Come on.
I mean, it's loud, but it's not.
They never do this. Oh my goodness, guys. I wonder what happens if we let Pippi out too. What would happen? Are they trying to get to each other to fight? Guys, we may have a bird fight. Give it a minute. There we go. Okay, now they're gonna compete for attention. Yeah, she's sorry guys, something stuck in her craw. If you could see her, that meme. Go look up the meme of SpongeBob when SpongeBob is scolding. Go look up the scolding. I think it's scolding SpongeBob. Let me see. It's the one where he looks like a bird. Yeah, the one where he looks like a bird. Mocking SpongeBob. They both look like mocking SpongeBob right now. Just like, bark, 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 bark. All right, guys, come on. Come here. Stop. Everybody stop. Everybody just calm down. Oh my God, just calm down. Sorry, guys. At least it's not technical difficulties, right? At least it's bird difficulties. It's a little different. And for those, someone asked me recently, they said, did you shave your head or something? You're always wearing these caps on your head. No, what actually happened is I had cut a notch into my hair and like a while back, and I'm letting it grow back. So I got like this weird tuft that's just sticking up. So I'm wearing this for a while so I can manage it. All right. We may have to do something with these guys because they never do this. Come here. Come on, Pip. Hold on, guys. They're going to calm down, I swear. Come here, boy. Come here. You might have another one there. All right, guys. I'm sorry. Okay. So where was I going? So that's making your cats go nuts. I'm sorry, guys. Birdie says, fuck your stream. So the next, woo. All right. Can you be finished so I can focus? I do have ADD, it's hard to focus on one thing at a time when you're being like this. Come here. Now she's bonded to me, so she wants nothing to do with the boy, but the boy wants to have everything to do with her. And she doesn't tolerate it. All right. Now you're going away. Come on. Come here. That's it. It's okay, sweetheart. You can go in your house now, okay? You can come out again after dinner. Sorry about that. All right. Maybe they'll be quiet now that she's away. It's always something. Okay. So what I was saying was a lot of you guys don't realize the degree of social engineering that's going on right now. They're making it look like there is a culture war, like people are bickering over pride flags and shit. And while that is all valid, that is what's happening, that's engineered. That conflict has been engineered since the beginning. And just about everybody got sucked into it, even wise people. Like I even watch other, you know, spiritual teachers and gurus, they get sucked into some of this too, even the ones that know better. Okay, so this is a very powerful operation going on. And for a little while there, yes, it was with the intention to divide and conquer. The thing is that as these white hats took over, for those of you who aren't familiar, I mostly ascribe to some form of the Q theory, although I think that there's layers to that too. There's misinformation involved in that too. Some of it intentional by the white hats to keep people confused for good reason. I do believe there's an operation. There would have to be, all right? If you're so simple-minded, you think everything that you're seeing in the news is organically what's happening, you're blind. I don't know how to help you except keep reminding you that it's not that. Whatever you see in the news, whatever you see being told to you in the media, whatever your favorite, even me, is telling you, is there's a fog of war that is so thick. Very few people know what's really going on behind the scenes, but some of us have a better idea than others. Anyone who doesn't understand that there are hidden forces at play and that one side is pretty much won at this point, and we're just watching them expose and take down the old system. Basically, it's called devolution. It's a controlled collapse of the old system. If you can't tell that's what you're watching, you're either too in it, like you're either swimming in it so you can't see what it is, or you're just not looking. Right. So if you're someone who's really wound up with the culture war part, maybe you're LGBTQ and you're like, well, I'm afraid of all these hardcore right-wing conservatives that are coming after, me. Or maybe you're a moderate or you're on the other side and you're thinking like this pride stuff is obviously an attempt at social engineering. It was obviously an attempt to create another protected class that they could use. I've got nothing against these people, but it's obviously a social engineering psyop. Or maybe you're a hardcore asshole fundy that really hates people who are LGBT. Whatever your deal is, if you're like embedded in that culture war where you're fighting for these different things, you're what they would call a useful idiot. And we've all been there. We all do this on some level. When I say I'm a useful idiot. I'm a useful idiot right now because I don't have total information and I'm still speaking my opinion in a way that sort of supports or takes down a perspective. So because I don't have full knowledge, I'm still ultimately, how do I put this? I'm kind of doing a foolish thing because I don't know. But if I don't do something, right, you have to act on what you know. So if I don't do something, then I'm just letting them eat me, right? So I've got to go where, think of it like game theory, right? Right now there are two they've worked very hard to create a Coke and a Pepsi in the past. It's always been Coke versus Pepsi, not much difference. You have the Republicans and the Democrats, the liberals and the conservatives, the labor and whatever, Tories, whatever. And these different groups, this Coke and Pepsi has always been the same thing, just this thing different, right? So on the left and on the right, they will both be bipartisan to rape you from your money. Pardon me, I use the R word if I triggered you on YouTube, by the way, because YouTube gets weird about that stuff still. You get, two parties that are bipartisan on any issue where you get fucked in the ass hard, but on any issue that is something that matters to your life, it's always against you. But when it's something that will give them power by creating divisive, groups of people so they create football issues. They could solve all this stuff from abortion to borders to Medicare to blah, 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 blah. All of these issues could be solved. They are not unsolvable. There are solutions to every one of them, and they know this. They intentionally keep these stupid problems alive for as long as possible because it gives them the ability to engineer the voting, to engineer the system, to play you all off each other, to get one group of people who's all religious. Here's the thing. The religious dum-dums don't know that their opinion has been engineered as well. They think that this is God's commandments. And so they're all gay people and abortions and this must end and you're all going to hell. But they don't know that those ideas have been pounded into their head like any other. They don't know that because they've been indoctrinated since they were, since they were children, right? They've been indoctrinated. They don't know. But the same is true on the other side. All of these, NPR, PBS, tote bag having, Lisa Simpson types. These people are no different. That is their religion. Their religion they've been indoctrinated with, this atheism, this materialism, this idea that has been so corrupted, and there's extreme views on both. So what they did is they got them to fight against each other, and everybody in the middle had to pick a side, right? And that's what they did. But the thing is that all those stupid issues, should we have abortions? Should we not have abortions? Should we have abortions but with these limits? Should we have socialist systems like welfare, or should we have nothing, or something in the middle? Oh my God, on and on and on it goes. And they get you in this binary war, this polarized system that you didn't used to be this way. Yeah, there was always animosity between different groups, but there was a legit difference, okay? There was a legit difference. At one point in time, you could tell the difference, right? But over the 80s, the 90s, and definitely into the millennium, what is the difference between Bill Clinton and George Bush? Does anybody know? Can you really tell me what the difference is? One says one will vote for your right to have an abortion. Or did I just do George Bush but with the Clinton mannerism? Anyway, you get the point. There's no fucking different. There's no difference. Okay? There's no difference between them fundamentally. They will play you off each other. Bush will say, no more abortions for anybody. Yeehaw! And you can all have abortions. Just let me touch your, never mind. This is all of them. But those issues aside, they both vote for wars. They both vote to take your money. They vote to strip you of your rights every single time. So they get these football issues and they make you care about them, and they make you go to war over those. And then while you're fighting over that, they're taking all your money. They're increasing the taxes. They're going to war. They're doing the machinations. They're creating economic tyranny everywhere. They're destabilizing the third world, creating refugees that have to swarm our borders that they use as a protected class to keep those borders open as invaders. And of course, you get a lot of cartels, you get a lot of terrorists and everything along with that, which will be used when the time comes, and the time is coming. In fact, it's just about here. You have to understand that the world, and this is the hardest thing, guys, and luckily for me, this is such a hard thing for people like me, because I am sitting here literally like a crazed person in the wilderness screaming, don't you guys see what is obvious? Well, it's going to be more and more obvious to the point very soon where only the most blind holdouts won't see it. Okay? The estimations that I've seen by people and Q and some other things, somewhere between 1 and 4 or 5% of the population will never go along with what's about to happen, no matter what happens. Like they're just so indoctrinated. They're religious. They're so indoctrinated to their political party. They're not going to get what's coming. Okay, they're going to think it's something else, and I'm afraid that some people I know personally might be in that ballpark, might be in that category. But at the same time, even though I am in favor of the side that is currently dominating behind the scenes, I have a sincere worry. Okay, because I have been taught to never trust authority, even when they seem to have my best interest in mind. I am taught to never trust them. Because we do not live in a civilization where you can trust authority. The minute you start trusting authority, you're fucked. So even these white hats, I have my worries, my doubts, and my fears, because they're using social engineering too. Now, I give them a pass right now because we just went through generations, well, really millennia, but in modern concepts, the modern indoctrination is only about 100 to 200 years old. Okay. In fact, there's a guy, I don't ascribe to some of his points. In fact, I disagree with certain things very strongly. Suddenly I can't remember his name. Oh my goodness. Be Great Anyway knows who I'm about to talk about. He's the guy, you turned me on to him. He believes we live in a computer simulation. He takes the Matrix very seriously. I can't think of his name all of a sudden, But interesting channel nonetheless. Okay, he uses terminology that I was going to use. Like we came up with some similar ideas independently. I'm like, fuck, that's a good term that you're using there. I wish I had put it out there first as if I was going to use it. But anyway, so there's people out there that he notices that every couple hundred years, and he's not wrong. This is the in astrological time, right? There are eras, there are different periods, and they're roughly between 150 to maybe 300 years at a time. And of course they change, gradually. RKX, thank you, Be Great Anyway, RKX. It's like AI, right? RKIX, right? RKX. Jason of RKX. And he noticed quite correctly that every period of time there does seem to be a shift in the zeitgeist. Okay, but he takes that as like the computer program is resetting. He takes the matrix very literally, in that he sees it as and I don't agree with him, but I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm saying I don't see that. If anything, it's a simulation in the mind. It's not in a computer. Okay, I think he's taking the metaphor too far. But his observations of things, I can't entirely. There's some things like he says the sun isn't where they say it is. I think he's a flat earther, in fact. I don't buy into that at all. I think that's total garbage, but it could just be I don't have the information, right? I think flat earth is garbage. I won't ascribe. You're going to have to prove that to me hard. Like that's going to have to hit me in the face hard. And if it does, then I'll eat this do-rag. But I don't think that's the case. So you have this guy who's noticing every few hundred years there's this massive shift in the zeitgeist, and that is correct. That's a given. Even if just from the understanding of the way psychology over time, there's developments, 3 or 4 generations, people don't remember anybody. How many generations are alive at any given time? 4 or 5? So is there anybody else still alive from the First World War? If there is, it's like 1 or 2 people, right? We could Google that. There might be some. Is there anybody left alive from the Civil War? No. If you're an American, no. Is there anybody left alive from World War II? Of course, there's definitely people from World War II. So somewhere around the World War I generation is our cutoff right now. And everybody who was born before that, you have zero direct interaction in any way. They don't influence your world anymore at all, if at all. So after 3 or 4 generations, living generations, or 5, whatever it ends up being, I think it's like 5. After 5 living generations, right? The zeitgeist must, by the fact that no one's alive to keep it going, will change, right? So of course there's going to be a shift in all of these things. Of course there's going to be a massive shift. There's going to be such a massive shift because nobody has the same mindset. They don't have the same lived experiences anymore. So even if just for that reason, now lay down to the possibility that there are higher forces manipulating the zeitgeist. That is also true. That can also be true. So what I'm telling you is that we're not only entering into a new zeitgeist, like a little short-term one, we're entering into a big one. And if my intuitive predictions are correct, the next few years are going to be insane. And then after that, we are going to go into a period of, shall we say, less chaotic change, but it will still be rapid change. So the next few years are going to be maximum chaos. And I don't know how many years it's going to go. It may only go a year. It may only go 6 months. But for the next period of time, the next window of time is going to look very, 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 very borderline. We're all going to die Mad Max chaos. And if I'm off, I'm going to be off in a matter of degrees, not a matter of fact. So in other words, it will be chaotic. Will it go up to a Mad Max level? Maybe not. Maybe it'll just look like 2020 again. But no matter how you slice it, the next window of time, which is I can't say exactly how many, it could be 6 months, it could be 3 years, but this next little intermediary period is the climax of a dramatic shift. And from there, it's going to level out. There's still going to be some bumps, but it's not going to be as chaotic. We're going to be dealing with sort of like after World War II and that rebuild period. Okay. Yeah, there's still going to be some hot spots. There's still going to be some shit that's happening, and some major revelations and things. But imagine that nifty 50s, vibe again, except without a dirty 60s coming up after it, because there's not going to be, to my understanding, when this is done, talk about the millennial reign. I mean, this is what's going, it's going to stabilize and it's going to stay whatever. I've been saying for I don't know, 20 years now that this next, whatever's going on, right? The next 10 years, the next 30 years, the next generation of change will decide the next 1,000. So everything that's happening now is deciding what the next 1,000 years is going to look like for the whole of humanity. And it's sort of like the Enlightenment era all over again, just bigger. Now, what exactly has happened? I don't know all the deep details. I don't know if some, if the Galactic Federation of Worlds finally said, okay, that's enough. Let's go bail out this third world planet, or the prisoners took over the asylum that we set up. Let's go in and bail out the natives that just happen to live on that asylum. Like imagine that human beings are like a bunch of third world natives, and somebody put an insane asylum on a tropical island somewhere just to keep the craziest people from civilization. And then they get out. Then they get out and they start taking over the island, and the poor natives become enslaved. That's kind of what I think is going on here. I think that's kind of what happened here, at least recent history, at least the last couple thousand years. Not the last 100,000 years, but certainly the last couple thousand years. That's what it feels like. It feels like the prisoners escaped and took over the asylum. That's what it feels like. The criminals took over the prison. Okay. And they took it out on us, who were supposed to be left alone. Anyway, so that's the future. The future is going to be like a golden age. It's going to be at least a silver age. The question is, will it all happen in our lifetime, or will we just see the dawn of it? Now, me personally, if it's even just the dawn of a golden age, that might be the coolest time, because this is when all the shit's revealed, and you have to be a freedom fighter, a truth seeker, a truth teller, a guide. You have to be those people, right? That's like, that's of course why I incarnated here. That's what gets my motor humming. My favorite fiction, my favorite science fiction, my favorite fantasy, it's always, revolving around the turning point when a revolution of the good guys. Of course, I don't believe in the concept of good guys, but I do believe in a benevolent faction, right? When the good guys finally, that tectonic tidal wave stops and shifts and it changes over, the bad guys are finally pushed out, and now you've got this Wild West period of expansion, growth. That's what I'm into. I love that shit, give me the period of years either after Luke's, like, give me the expanded universe Star Wars, like where Luke is rebuilding the temple. Oh yeah, that's cool. Or give me that rebellious period, before Yavin 4, like up to and including. So give me that whole original trilogy. That's my zeitgeist. That's what I keep saying that word a lot. It's like it's like I learned a new word, even though I've known that word. It's like stuck in my head. That's my personal archetype, is that hero's journey, that character that helps humanity become free, right? To liberate, to be part of that process, not as some obnoxious activist, not as, although sometimes I act that way. That's not really what I'm into. I just want to be part of that shift, and I want to be a helpful instrument to it. That's always been my calling. That's why even in 2018, even though I was focusing more on the left-hand side of things, of spirituality, at the time, I was telling people, like in private messages, like, I am here to deliver messages. I am here to communicate. I am here to guide. I know this. I feel this in my bones, and I know this because anytime someone tries to get in my way, something happens to them. Like I don't mean that like, oh, I'm somehow protected necessarily. I just mean that it's like when something tries to prevent me from having my voice heard at least a little bit, there's always something that happens to the silencers. There's always something that happens to the backbiters and the false accusers. It always seems to, because people misunderstand my ambitions here. They think that my ambitions have always been for money or something. No, the money's fun. That's a scorecard, but that's not what I've done it for. I've always done this because I've wanted to say what I saw coming. And all this time I've been trying to navigate what's going on and trying to gradually get my audience to see what I see. And if they won't see it, then attract the audience that will. So I dove into that left-hand path current, and I dove in hard, and I did the shadow work, and now I'm capable of being either hand. It's not a matter of fixating on one or the other. You do that for a little while as a practice. You can fixate on being left hand as a practice or right hand as a practice and stay that way for as long as you need to. But eventually you give up the limitations, right? It's like training wheels. I'm following the left-hand path for a while, guys, because I feel like I need to integrate some shadows, or I got a little too goody-goody and I lean too far into the right-hand path, and I gotta, shall we say, unpucker my butthole because I'm a little too anal retentive. So I need to lighten up and go down the left-hand path a little bit. And that's what happens, until you find your equilibrium, you're going to go back and forth and back and forth. So yeah. So one of the things that has come to mind from this is my explorations of the past, past lives. When I was younger, that was a fixation of mine. I wanted to know who I was. And I believed that who I was could only be understood by understanding who I was before this life. Because at the time I was only 12, 13, 14. That's when I got started doing this stuff. So I didn't have much of a life to draw on yet. I knew intuitively that my character, my persona, the deep self, the subconscious self was not a product of this life. I just knew that already. I could tell because I had too much going on for it to come from this little life that I'm living. I'm sitting there 13 years old. What's the most important thing to a 13-year-old? You're getting hair on your balls. You're figuring out that girls or whatever you're into exists. You're dealing with shifting from one kind of school to another. You go from kindergarten to elementary to junior high to high school. These big shifts are happening, but you have this feeling. I had this feeling like this isn't my first rodeo, and I don't know why I got that feeling. And I remember like one of the first things someone asked me, like when they did a past life regression, they did a hypnotism out of this book, right? And it's silly because why would this silly little book do anything? Well, it's not because of the book. It's because of me. The kind of being that I am, it was accessible to me at least a little bit. So the first thing they did was this regression technique where they hypnotize you and they have you go stand in front of a mirror and see who your true self is. And I remember standing in front of the mirror and they asked me what I saw, and I saw nothing. It was a black mirror. It was an empty mirror. And I was because they say, enter into a dark space. There's nothing there but you in a mirror. Now stand in front of the mirror. There's enough light to see what do you look like. It was something like that. I remember the exact wording. And I remember I see nothing. And that was weird. Like, what do you mean you see nothing? Well, that should have been my first clue, but it wasn't. I thought I was defective. I thought like maybe I was just blind. No, that's the truth. When you look for your true self, you're going to see nothing, no thing. You are the infinite. You are the darkness. You are the light. You are the absolute. So of course I saw nothing, but then it was pressed. Okay, but what kind of a being are you? And so on and so forth. And eventually I started seeing past lives, and I started seeing lives where, let's put it this way, it was stylized in a sort of fantasy way. But that always felt like that was me sort of trying to make sense of the intuitive impulses I was getting. It felt to me like I was trying to make sense of something for which I've never had at that age, 12, 13, 14, I never had a personal experience to relate it to, except through fantasy. Because even in science fiction, this wasn't a thing. The idea of dragons or draconian beings wasn't in the zeitgeist, I said it again, of science fiction or fantasy at the time. There wasn't really any of that unless you count Land of the Lost with their little slee stacks, right? That was the closest you get. But there's no flying saucers in Land of the Lost. There was no connection to aliens with any of this. So I was remembering all of these details that had a very science fiction element to them, because I ultimately channeled or remembered a version, a personalized version. In other words, not accurate. In other words, I wasn't a clear channel, if you know what that is. So as a not so clear channel, I was channeling something that was very much like the current, like, amalgamation of all of the Zachariah Sitchin, Ancient Aliens, Graham Hancock, Robert Sepper, Anunnaki, Sumerian tablet, all that kind of stuff. At 13, when I didn't even know the Sumerians existed. I thought they were the Cimmerians, the fucking, the Conan, the the Sumerian people. I didn't know that they existed, what they were. I thought they were the Samaritans or something. I didn't know anything about that time. I thought Egypt was the oldest. I didn't know anything about Sumeria. I didn't know anything about Babylon. I didn't know about anything. I was 13. I was a Baptist 13-year-old, okay? A Baptist Christian 13-year-old. So my understanding of spirituality, here I am channeling the book of goddamn Enoch, almost not line for line or anything, but several important parts. I basically channeled parts of that in my own version. It would be, put the book of Enoch into your own words. That's kind of almost what I did. I had no knowledge of that stuff. All I ever had was what was in the Sunday school Bible, and whatever was in pop culture, at the time, which wasn't much. It wasn't a lot about that stuff. Maybe some horror movies might have touched on it here and there, but not to the degree that I was going. And so when I was a kid, I channeled all this stuff that ultimately I got screwed up with it, because I started to identify egoically with all of those people, beings, and memories that I was having and thought I was. So I began to, it was almost as if my past selves were trying to live through me. And this is dangerous. This is something, if you're trying to explore your past lives and you think you've had them, maybe you think you're a starseed, right? I would be in that spectrum. If there is any truth to it, then I am definitely a starseed. If there's any truth to that, because my own past life memories, I was some kind of a hybrid between some kind of a human, probably like a Nordic, or maybe an actual human, or maybe they are humans. Maybe that's what humans are, or Nordics. I don't fucking know. A Pleiadian, basically, or Plagiarin, maybe, or maybe a Lyran. I have no fucking clue, right? Because I don't know which of these alt stories are true. These new age alien starseed mythos. I don't know which one's accurate, if any. I think some of them have accurate truth in them, by the way. That's just it. I just don't know what. But if I'm going by that, what would I have been? Well, I would have been some sort of, in this one very important past life, the one that seems to be the one that shaped me the most, the one that I most wanted to remember, the one that seems to be the author of my current karma dharma pattern, appears to have been that life has the most impact. Whatever I did or didn't do seems to still be reverberating in my life. So if that's real, then I would definitely be some sort of a hybrid starseed between some sort of human and draconian race. Okay. But it wasn't like they screwed each other. It was like a genetic crossbreeding where the humans that got, so the draconians and the human-like ones, they weren't necessarily human, but they were most remnant. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they were literally the Lyran, the cat people. I don't fucking know. like I said, I don't remember the specifics. I just remember the patterns and the categories, right? I remember like the archetypes, and then I put in like the details as I remember them better. But they're not. I could just be imagining some details. I have to always be I'm always very careful with that. I try not to be like, oh, I saw this in a vision, so it's absolutely true, because I've had memories of like an hour ago that are wrong, right? So I don't say that just because I remember it, that's what it was. It's just a guide. It's just a signpost that says, this is what you remember. So I remembered being this being. Now, what they got from this deal, they got certain, shall we say, so from the Draconians, they attained, they gave up a bit of their sympathetic empathy, but their ability to sense and perceive was expanded beyond even what it already was for what they were. So if they were Nordics or whatever, Pleiadians, Lyrans, whatever, whatever empathy they had, sympathetic empathy, like they can tell and they feel it unto themselves. It's like they gave up their ability to internalize it, but expanded their ability to sense it. And then by giving that up, then they became more able to use that as a weapon. So you could sense what others are feeling and thinking to some greater degree. In turn, you no longer are affected by it negatively. In fact, you might even enjoy the intensity of negative feelings in other people. Like there's a side of me, and it's not the predominant side, but there is a side of me that is very sadistic, to the point of being almost demonically sadistic, but only towards those beings which I believe have it coming. There's a sense of justice in it. There's a sense of, and by justice, I don't mean according to some moral code. I mean, okay, think of that ICP song that they did, that they were sort of satirizing the TV show where the news reporter would corner the pedos. I forget what they called that show, to catch a predator. That song, I listen to that song and I'm like, normally the thought of hurting someone bothers me. I don't like to watch snuff films. I don't like to watch people suffering. When there's a video of like a cat hurt, I don't go, ooh, no, I hate that shit. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't like it. But if you showed me evidence, this person was a pedo and they hurt children, and now we're going to show you torture, like bad, done to this person, would you watch it? I might not say yes, but what I will say is it wouldn't make me uncomfortable. I would feel pleasure. If I didn't want to watch it, it would be because I didn't want that awkward, this makes me feel good feeling. Like I'm feeding off of their pain. Like their squeals of agony somehow are good. Like, ooh, do it more. It doesn't work that way for innocence. If it's happening to an innocent person, it's the exact opposite. I become disgusted and I want to do that to the person doing it to them. This is why at a young age, I was a bully's bully. So I would find bullies and I would bully them, and I would relish in it. And people say, oh, you're such a protector. It's like, you don't quite understand, though. I'm not doing this to protect you, although that's a fringe benefit and I am enjoying that. It's because to me, their tears are more delicious. And that part of me is real, but it's not in control. That part of me is not contained. It is in cooperation with this other part of me that says, listen, we don't have to get dirty. We don't have to go out and be like a vigilante. We don't have to be that kind of person. All we need to do is wake up humanity. All we need to do is be a light bringer. And as humanity transcends and ascends, those dark beings that have been tormenting us, they're going to get theirs, just as a matter of deprivation, if nothing else, just from the fact that they won't be able to feed off of us the way they do. That disconnection will agonize them the same way starving to death would agonize you. And so they'd have to move on. The problem is that while that's happening, while there is that decoupling of the food from the, the food supply from the eater, these dark beings, whatever they are, as that's happening, they're lashing out to try to make it more. And those of us that have engaged in this conflict, who have been trying to wake up humanity, or we're doing something that helps that awakening or somehow challenges their feeding frenzy, those of us that are on that path, we're getting hit extra. Some of you guys in the chat, I think, are in that category because you're a threat to them. You see them, you know that they're there, and you work against them. I know some of you do, in your own way. Maybe you don't have a YouTube channel. Maybe you just help your friends. Maybe maybe you're more in this scenario. Nobody is more chosen than anyone else. We're all the chosen one. There is no chosen one. We're all the chosen one. And it's not about how big an effect you have in this life. It's not about you being like a DH Thorne with an 8,000 member subscriber YouTube, or a Joe Rogan with millions and millions of people listening to his podcast, or an Alex Jones. By the way, watch out. Everybody I just named, to some degree, especially Alex Jones, are questionable. But I'm saying those are the people think of. You don't have to be these great, social media influencers. You can just be helping one person wake up. If you wake up one person besides yourself, you have expanded consciousness that much. You've made a big dent, more than you realize. No one person is more important than anybody else in this pattern. I know that sounds all goody two-shoes. I don't mean it that way. It is objectively the case. Because in the non-dual understanding, all is Leela, and every element of Leela is intrinsically necessary, is intrinsically part of Leela. If you took one mosquito out of the equation, Leela would be fundamentally changed, and it wouldn't be the same. So that mosquito, therefore, is as important as the whole show. So therefore, maybe you don't have a YouTube. Maybe you're not as much of a wordsmith as me. Maybe all you're going to do is you're going to find in a few years, you're going to fully acquire this knowledge. You're going to transcend your mortal delusions. You're going to have some gnosis a little bit, and you're going to meet somebody who needs what you've learned, needs your guidance, needs your help, or needs your reprimand and your vindictive approach. They might need that. You're playing an important role in this story that is manifesting. And of course, you're choosing that story, but you're choosing to participate. It's not one person making the story up. It's the divine itself, which is numberless, that has ordained this to occur. The divine is numberless. It's not one or a million. It's beyond infinite, and it's less than zero. It is beyond number. So this divine pattern the divine pattern is infinite. It's not one story. It's an infinite story. It's beyond infinite. And you're choosing which of those stories. And you're schooling, you're shoaling with a bunch of other soul sparks. And we're all choosing this temporal corridor to walk together. We're on tour. We're touring through one of the many temporal possibilities. And if you're listening to me going, wow, Thorne, you're making a lot of sense, we're probably going to end up on a similar timeline path. That's just how it is. The thing is, the dark ones, the bad guys, we'll call them, even though that's an archaic and silly term. Those beings, the dominator beings, what they're trying to do is manifest their version of things. And to do that, they've got to deceive you. If they can make you think that you have a very limited number of options on the table, then by doing so, you're stuck in whatever reality they want. So someone said, you have to choose yourself. There is no choice. There is no one to choose but you. That is absolutely correct. But others can influence that choice, just as a salesman can influence you to buy or not buy something. It's still your choice, but they have inspired you to choose a certain way. And there is no method better than to limit options. And this is why they have always given you Coke versus Pepsi. This way you choose between two options and they win no matter which one you choose. This goes back to the Rothschilds, how they decided every war by funding both sides. This way, no matter which army won, they won. And in winning, they would gain more and more power and wealth and influence until eventually they became the most powerful visible. The most powerful visible. They're at the top level of the mortal side, the top level of the front-facing side of the pyramid. They're near the top, if not the top. They're very near the top. They're in the top few, rows as individuals go. And that's how they got there. But they're not running everything. They're also pawns in a sense. They're also players in a game, and they're not even head players. They're lieutenants at best in the grander scheme. And in the grandest scheme, they're just low-level pawns, just like every other little puppet being tends to be in the machinations of the greater cosmos at large. But here's the thing, the more potent a ruler, the less you have to fear from them, because they're overseeing so many people that the chances of them noticing you and infringing on you is very limited, right? They just shape the patterns that the nation or world or universe are operating under, perhaps. That's a possibility. So they create for you these two seemingly different, but ultimately the same options. Well, the social engineers got supplanted, we'll say around 2015, 2016, at least in America. And those social engineers, order, whatever it was, Palpatine's order to kill the Jedi, the equivalent of that rang out throughout the shadow government. And the revolution happened behind the scenes. See, this revolution is not going to be the people against despotic rulers and beheading them. It may look that way. And it probably wasn't that way in the French Revolution or before any of these revolutions. In fact, that was a communist uprising, really. It was the way the Marxists got their toehold, but let's not go there. Let's just pretend it was all hunky-dory. The Enlightenment era revolution, of course, was machinated as well. It wasn't organic. It wasn't just the people finally had enough. They rose up because the powers that be said, rise up. The same thing's happening now. It's already a decided thing. The next months to years is going to look like chaos unleashed, but it's all controlled. At every level of the game, it's controlled. Of course, there's parts they don't control, but I'm saying in the general sense, it is well in hand. They have it gamed out. They know what's going to happen. They may have a few situations that could go one way or the other, but they've got it predicted. Okay, they know what's going to happen. So right now, they're getting everybody prepared. They're priming human civilization for what's going to happen next. And what's happening next is the sum of all fears, guys. In fact, go to what's the website I use? Oh, for goodness sake. There's a website I use to look up the Q post. Q Alerts. QAlerts.net. Do a search and do sum of all fears. Let's see if it comes up. Yep, there it is, sum of all fears. So Q like to use movies and like to use movie references because pop culture is potent in political, geopolitical, optics machinations. If you can use movies, you've already done, the movie's already done half the work for you. If you've got a movie that gives you, sort of a mentality, like if you watch Red October, right? That gives you a certain vibe. And if you use a Red October scenario, something like it, people are primed to accept the outcome. This is what Hollywood's for, by the way. Holly being the magic wand material. Hollywood is the magician's wand that initiates the ideas into the mind of the public. It gets you primed for the ideas that they want you to believe or disbelieve, for that matter. It allows them to create different groups of people with different ideas. It allows them to soft disclosure, predictive programming, all this kind of shit. So of course Q is backing on that. Of course the white hats that are now running this took it away from the Hydra, from the cabal. They are using the same techniques, and one hopes they're using it benevolently. Now there are some people that if they really knew this, they would be mad at the white hats because they say, well, you're lying to me too. And I can't say I don't blame them. Okay. But you have to understand that in this picture, in this scenario, you are like a wild animal and they are like a park ranger who's trying to rescue you from poachers. Okay. So there's poachers that have captured you and they've enslaved you. They've put you in a feeding pen. They're fattening you up and they're fleecing you and they're killing your children. They're eating them. You are chattel to them. You are literally cattle for them. They don't see you as human at all. They're eating you. They're devouring you. So let's say you had a bunch of park rangers come across a bunch of poachers doing this to innocent animals. What would the rangers do? Well, first they'd take out the poachers. Then what would they do? Well, do you think they would just open the cages and let you run away? No, they're going to anesthetize you. They're going to tag you. They're going to give you a medical checkup. They're going to engineer you. They're going to find out, can you survive in the wild? Were you born in captivity? Can you survive in the wild? No, then we're going to simulate reality for you for a while, at least a generation, and maybe your children will be free. That's what's happening now, boys and girls. Your entire civilization is being liberated, but it's being engineered into it. So you're going to go through a period where they're going to be using black hat social engineering on you to guide you into a better reality. And that sucks because you've got to trust these saviors. And that little bit of Luciferian spark doesn't go away in me very easily. There's a part of me that goes, okay, but how much of this is for me? Should I just lay back and let you do this? Or on some level, should I expose you so that the other beings like me who can see can choose to help or not? I've got friends that go, why are you on this side if you think this? Because I'm trying to give you guys a choice. I want you guys to have an aware choice. I don't want you to be swept up in the psyop. I want you guys to see it. This way you can choose. Do you want to choose the white hat psyop? Or do you want to choose that ultimate left-hand path of misanthropic, anti-cosmic, generational fucking genocide that will culminate in 15-minute cities where everybody dies and is a slave? And maybe you get to rise up through the ranks and become one of the leaders. If that's what you want, go for it. But at least the way I'm telling you have a choice in how you respond to what's happening. Most people don't want you to have a choice. Now, granted, I want you to choose like I want to choose, but I want you to know the truth. I want you to know what's happening. The good guys, quote unquote, the white hats, quote unquote, they're bending the rules for you too. And you either have to decide, are they bending them in your favor because they're benevolent and they're trying to guide you into a better life? Do you see them as your patron deities? Do you trust them like you trust your personal demons or daemons or gods or whatever? Do you trust them the same way, or do you question them more? Here's my imposition. Here's my point. If you trust them, which I am choosing to do at the moment, tentatively, I am choosing to trust the white hat plan. But I am also choosing to remain skeptical, constantly vigilant, watching them like a hawk to make sure, because some of them will certainly say, you know what? We saved humanity. We can get a few extra points in the back. You know what I mean? If you ever did like refinancing work, you're sticking with 2 in the back, right? You give whatever their rate is, you add 2 percentage points and you take those for your profit. What if that's what they're going to do? Of course, they're going to free you, but they're going to ride that wave of liberation to some better place in life. I'm going to try to do it too, and you should too. All right, you can too. How about that? You can too. You can ride this wave of awakening. You can try to work towards a better world and plant your flag in some piece of the future. There's nothing wrong with that. But then you've got to watch out. Are some of these guys Are they really gray hats? Are they really gray hats looking like white hats, trying to get you hopeful, trying to get you to believe and to become a sucker for what they're selling? Are they gonna make you some kind of nifty 50s patriot? Is that where we're going? Are we gonna go back to like Fallout, like where everybody, loves the state? Is that where we're going? I don't think so, because I do believe that this process is exposing the ills of mindless patriotism, not nationalism where you care about your country, or patriotism where you care about your country. That's not what I'm talking about. That's fine. That's the noble side of those concepts. The dark side of those concepts is where it's tribal, and you believe that since it's your team, you have to support it. No matter what it does, you have to say there. That's how they got you so far. I don't think we're going that way, because everything that they're exposing right now is like the consequence of being that blind kind of nationalist patriot. They're trying to get you to distrust authority again, including the fucking media. And it's worked. And quite honestly, that's all they really have to do. All they really have to do is expose the corruption and get you to stop trusting authority the way that you do. The problem, though, is in order to do that, they had to create a cult of personality. They had to create this movement. In America, it's MAGA. In other parts of the world, they've got their own, you have the farmers in the Netherlands, right? They have these different movements, and the truckers in Canada, and
you had the yellow coats.
The yellow coats?
Yeah, they wore the yellow coats.
Oh, in the Netherlands, right? Or was it France? I think it was France. Yeah, I think it was France. Yeah, that's right. And they had like the construction workers and stuff. Yeah. So they create these if you really look at it, and if you're really savvy, if you understand psychology and how they manipulate you with propaganda, if you understand true black magic, like I do, if you truly understand it, it's a manipulative force. It can be mundane or spiritual, right? Black magic doesn't have to be bibbity bobbity boom. Magic can also, if you understand what magic is Western yoga. Yoga can have a dark side. You can have yoga that pulls you further out of alignment, by the way. That'd be like black yoga. So black magic is something that pulls you away from your sovereignty, away from your enlightenment and your growth. So manipulative powers, powers of manipulation, of psychological manipulation, of psyop, of magic, of whether it be mundane or spiritual, these forces, these abilities, these techniques are being used right now to manipulate large portions of the country to align and resonate in certain ways. Because they know, for example, in America, the average IQ is only about 98. It's not even 100. 100's the median. America's IQ is under the median. I know, don't put too much stock in IQ, but obviously on a grand scale, it has some meaning. So the average American is only around a 98 IQ, and that's not taking into account their education levels, their experience levels. So to some of us that are perceptive, have a high IQ, and this is our passion in life, it's brazenly obvious what they're doing right now. I've got people that are like mods of my Discord, Shadow Doc. I've got friends of the server. I've got people that are, we talk about these things outside of the server. Like we DM each other. And I'm like, look at this. They're like, that is the most engineered photo op or whatever I've ever seen. Like just the other day, I sent somebody a video of all of these people coming across the border. And it was all these people that were Arabics. You had the Egyptians, and you had like people from Turkey, and they're coming across and they're brazen. Yes, we are from Turkey. Woohoo! Yes, I am from Egypt. Oh, we are here for jobs. Yes, jobs. That's it. And they're looking sus as hell. And it's like a perfect fucking staged. These groups of people coming across, all military aged, all shady looking, or all like just designed, like they're designed to piss off people of a certain group. And they're either staged or they're cherry picked or both, probably both. And I'm like, I show this to my friend. I'm like, the fact is, most people seeing this don't even know they're being propagandized, because they're being propagandized in a way that it aligns with what needs to happen, but it's so fucking cringe to me because it's so sloppy. It's so childishly sloppy to me that 10 years ago, the propaganda was, it was hard. I could spot it because I just knew how, but I could understand why the average person couldn't, because the whole world was aligned with it in such a way that it was obviously what everybody already was comfortable with. So they didn't have to try very hard. They just made it look real enough. And this, it's so cringe. It's so obvious that behind the scenes, there's a new boss that's taken over and has kicked these people out. And it's so obvious that we're being engineered into a new paradigm, a new zeitgeist, a new Overton window that's more compatible with what's coming. We're being primed. And because I know my past lives, I know that's why I incarnated here, to participate in this shift. Because this is when I'm always present. I seem to always appear during times of great revolutionary change and people needing guidance. And of course, I've got to go through my own freaking transformational shift, and so do you. Now, here's where we start talking about you. If everything I just said resonates with you a little bit, get off your ass. If you're constantly listening to me going, Thorne's right, Thorne's right, Thorne's right, he's wrong about that, Thorne's right. If you're one of my listeners and people that resonate strongly with me, what are you doing? Are you just listening to me for moral support? Am I just your fucking cheerleader? Are you really learning anything from me? Some of you guys obviously know most of the same stuff I already have been telling you. You may not know it the way I know it. You may not have applied it the way. Maybe you still see me as a teacher, but I'm not supremely advanced from you. I'm just like, maybe I get it a little better. Or I put it into words that you like. Because I have people like that I don't see as better than me, but they explain things the way that I learn things. But I guarantee you I could teach them stuff too. Is that you? What the fuck are you doing? Are you hiding? Are you afraid to piss off your friends by talking about this stuff? Are you afraid of losing? No, you need to get on the ball now. Now is the time. Now, you feel the wind changing? Raise your sails, boys and girls. Get out there right now, today. Find someone receptive and just open their eyes to something a little bit more. Every single day, instead of just listening to Thorne and looking for inspiration, go do it. Start helping humanity wake up. We don't all have to be right. We just have to be pointing in the right direction. We all know the sunrise is coming. We don't all have to be pointing at the exact spot where the sun's going to rise. All you have to do is get as many people as you can who are currently facing west to just turn around. Shit, turn them 90 degrees so out of the corner of their eye they'll see the sunrise. Just turn them a little fucking bit. Turn yourself a little bit. You don't have to point directly at where the sunrise is, because nobody knows where it's going to come up. None of us at this level know where the sun's going to rise exactly on the horizon. But we know, I know, within this much of a gap, I know right around there, somewhere the sun's going to rise. I don't know exactly. Is it going to be aliens first? Are they what's going to happen? Are they going to really come down? Are they just going to take some of us with them? What's going to happen? I don't know, but I know over there is where it's going to happen. I have my own personal, now here's the thing, I have my own personal gnosis, my own personal intuitions. I do believe, I don't tell you guys everything I believe, because I want to be at least a little objective with you guys. I don't want to be like, well, I, D.H. Thorne, saw this, and I know that's what's going to happen, because that's not always what happens, for one thing. But for another, I want to remain objective so that you have a chance to decide for yourself and see for yourself. Gnosis attained by you is always better than gnosis given. If I tell you the sun's coming up over there somewhere in this metaphor, and you figure out exactly where it's going to come up and it comes up there, then you have just gained immense power. Immense. You just got an immense miracle, a gift. On the other hand, if I said it's coming up exactly there and it comes up, who got it? Me. I got it, not you. You didn't learn anything. You didn't grow. You didn't have an intuitive. It doesn't hit you as hard. It's just me telling you, I'm just a weatherman. You didn't learn shit. Does the weatherman telling you when it's going to rain teach you about the weather? I want you to learn about the weather because you're a god. You're a fucking god and you need to start acting like it. All of you. Me too. But I already did a little bit. Are you? Are you being proactive? Are you standing up? I don't mean get all political on your friends and family. It doesn't have to be that. All you have to do is show them where the sun's going to come up. Just keep pointing. The ones who will not get it will get it, except for that little percentage. They will get it when it's in their face, they won't be able to deny it. You don't have to even convince everybody. Sometimes all you have to do is tell people where the sun rises, and then when the sun rises, they'll believe the sun's rising. Because there are some people that even when they see the sunrise, because their authorities or the zeitgeist of the world hasn't said that's true, they'll doubt themselves and they won't believe it. So just by virtue of you telling them, they will see something that will wake them up down the road. Or they'll believe you when the sun rises. They'll go, oh shit, this person was right. Maybe I should have listened to them all along. And now you're in a position to better guide them. So stop thinking about this in terms of how do I control the big picture? How do I, it's just me. I can't fight. I can't do anything. I can't make the world change. I don't have Thorne's voice or his crazed, manic, ranty manner. I don't have those gifts. What do? Do something. Do anything. Find that one friend who's on the fence, who's listening, they're getting it, but they're not quite there, and help them along. Find your tribe and help them. Or be helped by them. But find your tribe and start working together. And then be the change you want to see. I hate to sound like some hippy-dippy activist, but it's the truth. And it's true in magic. This is a magical principle. Did no one ever tell you that be the change you want to see? Did nobody ever tell you that that's a magical principle? Is it not written all over the occult? It's not just a matter of asking a god to fix it and go, thank you, God. No, it's about being proactive in that magic. You don't just do the spell and go to sleep. You do the spell and then you do the work that creates the bridge across that river. And the magic gives you the pieces for the bridge and it helps guide you. That's what it does. It doesn't change the world. It helps you choose the path to the timeline you want to see. So you've got to act. You've got to be the change you want. That is the most magical statement there is. Be the change that you want to see. That's right, Be Great Anyway. They are amped up for the zeitgeist. Because there are no birds, these are either government drones or they're alien beings that are trying to guide us with their chirps and we're just too stupid to figure it out. Did you guys ever see that short I did where I was driving the car with my wife and I said, what if when birds chirp, they're, because birds like to mimic, what if they're mimicking dinosaurs? Like what if that stuff dinosaurs chirp, 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 and they've carried it forward thousands of. I did. It was on YouTube. Yeah, somebody put like post nut clarity thought 1,200, something like that. It was a good comment.
Because you were talking about that posting.
Oh no, I posted it.
Okay.
I posted it. Oh, if you guys could see my cute little wife in her short shorts making dinner. Oh boy. Oh my goodness. I may have to close the stream, guys. But anyway, yeah. So, or just AI beings. Yeah, Maiden Liberty. Birds are just, there are no birds. What is it from Twin Peaks? The owls aren't what they seem. Okay. All right. So let me wind it down. I'm a little cheerful today. I had a decent couple of days. So I'm back to my more happy-go-lucky self. I'm still a little manic though. I haven't quite, I've always been a little manic, but I haven't quite gotten back to the less manic version of me yet. So I'm hoping I will. It was quality marriage time. That's right. But I'm definitely a little manic. But yeah, Yeah, like mockingjays, like the mockingjay. Yeah, so these chirps are what a dinosaur sounded like. I bet you. Maybe. Who knows? All right. So let's walk it back. So let's go to some questions. I'm going to stick around for about another half hour, and I'm going to keep myself to that. Hey, honey, set a timer in a half hour. I have to be done and door closing. You know, I'm time blind.
My hands are peppery.
Okay. You have other appendages. You could use your nose to like in game night. All right. Well, I'm going to make myself a hard cutoff of about a half hour. Okay, guys. So in about a half hour, I'll be done. And if I'm not, remind me. So let's do some questions and answers. Let me scroll up through the chat. But I think I covered most of the important stuff right now. You know, it's the same old story, just different ways of saying it. We would totally understand. I know. You guys should look. I'm not the exhibitionist type, but I didn't marry badly. So I like to say I picked a trophy wife that's actually hot. Hey, Serial Krabat, what's up, brother? Guten Tag, my brother. What is going on? Or as you like to call yourself in other places, Larissa Tybark. But yeah, for real, brother. Good to see you, man. We should do another live stream one of these days. I'm just getting into the Q&A part, the satsang part of this stream. So if you guys want to get the ball rolling, and I'm going to scroll up through the chat and see what I missed. Maybe there's a question or something that I can riff off of for a half hour. But if you guys have a question or comment that you want me to consider, especially if it has to do with the topics I've been discussing, please put them up. Remember, all caps will get you noticed quicker. And the quickest way to get noticed is, of course, a super chat. But I am not a money grubber. So if you do not super chat, that is...
Timer is set.
Timer is set. Okay. Thank you, darling. Put some clothes on.
No.
Okay, let's see here. It's a little warm in the house, all right? All right, let's go. Okay, let's see. Hey, Jason's here. What's up, DeGoat143? He says, here, DH, it's Jason. What's going on, brother? Tim Clark says, hola. Let me scroll up a little more and give everybody a call out today. We got Maiden Liberty. Dark Lord Sparta, pardon me, is here. Hello. All clear here, too. Good. It must be working good. That was back about an hour ago. Maiden Liberty's on YouTube. Joffrey's here. He says, hello. I just actually saw the live stream. Maiden Liberty brought up dead internet. Probably was talking about how things are going to shift with the internet soon. Watch out for the cyber attack that is coming. It's almost guaranteed at this point. It will either come from Iran or Russia, probably, or the sun. They'll blame it on one of those three. Could be China, but those are the usual suspects. It'll be one of those. And they'll use that as a prelude to World War III. It's all going to get bigger and crazier, and there's going to be a lot of disruption in service. And who knows if it'll affect us in the States as much as it affects people in Europe. What I anticipate probably is Europe's probably going to get the worst of that, and other parts of the world will have probably. And I could be wrong, but I'm just. This is what I'm anticipating. I anticipate Europe's going to get knocked out. It's going to be just rolling blackouts, rolling cyber problems all over Europe, probably. And in America, we'll have some localized outages that'll be bad, really bad. Like some of the cities, like maybe the Eastern Seaboard will be fucked or something. And all of this will be a prelude to World War III. And of course, this will be the reason that they do not do electronic voting. I anticipate very highly 80 to 90% chance that we will not have any of these, we'll just call them electronic voting. I won't name them because that's when you get your YouTube channel in trouble. So there won't be as much of this electronic voting going on, probably. More than likely, there will be some reason we don't go to electric election this year. It'll probably be paper ballots. And if that's the case, then if that happens, I just want you to know Thorne was right the whole time. You have nothing to worry about. It's going to end well. If not, it could still go in a bunch of different ways. But that is one of those markers. So like Trump getting convicted was a marker for me. Knowing that he was probably going to get convicted and it was going to be ridiculous. Knowing that that was part of the plan all along, just because that's what I've anticipated. That's what we've seen in the Q drops. That's what, not specifically, but the theme, shall we say, has always been there. The assumption has always been there. So once that materialized, For me, that was like the final marker I needed to just pretty much put all but like 1 or 2 eggs in that basket. So like I pretty much expect things to happen a certain way now. I of course will have a I always keep a safety net when I make a choice like that, but I'm pretty confident. There may even come a time when I toss the last 2 eggs in that basket and say, fuck it. Might as well go in for an inch, in for a mile, right? Not exactly. World War III will look like it's here. It's not going to actually hit. You'll see. It's going to be as close as you can get without being real. Let's put it that way. That's what I'm anticipating. It's going to be like Cuban Missile Crisis and 2020 and 9/11 and a cyber attack, alien invasion. All of these things are on the table. Economic collapse, of course, that is certain. It's just a question of, will it collapse in a way that we end up for a short time in a Weimar Republic, or will it be a little bit more tolerable? I think it'll be more tolerable. I think we'll hit rock bottom, but it won't be like, it won't be like Black Friday or whatever. It won't be like the stock market collapse. It'll be almost as bad. It'll be for a minute there. Everyone's going to be like, go to the Book of Revelations. It'll be a time of wailing and gnashing of teeth. That is what's coming. There is no doubt about it. The 4 horsemen are out there. Guys, there's no doubt about it. Everything that the Book of Revelations describes is happening. It's just the symbolism of the outcome is misunderstood and is corrupted and has been turned into this ridiculous, second coming of some dude in a loincloth and not a loincloth. I guess he did have a loincloth and a robe and thorns in his hair. No. His bloodline will come back. Maybe. If I'm going to give in to that conspiracy theory side that believes in that, then we might as well go with the Da Vinci Code thing that Jesus's family is still kicking around. Some people even hint that might even be connected to Trump. I don't agree with that. I think that's crazy talk, but that's just some crazy people are alluding to that. I think they're nuts. I'm not endorsing that. I'm just putting it on the table, guys. Remember, right now I'm telling you, keep everything on the table. Close the door on pretty much nothing. As much as I've closed the door on flat earth, I didn't lock it. So if it turns out to be true, I'll just go crazy for a while, crying and be upset. But whatever, it's then that's the truth and that's what it is. But I don't believe it. Door is closed, but I left it unlocked. If it turns out to be true, then the flat earth salesman can find his way in the house and I'll get over it. Okay. So, all right. I gave you guys enough time to make a couple chats, but pay attention to what's going on. Okay. Because it is happening. Rusty Shackelford says, this is one base sorcerer. My son would use that handle. If I didn't know that he was out of internet, I would say that you remind me of him with some of these comments. Christianity is a vampire cult. All religion is, my friend. All religion is. Let's be careful. While it's safe to single out, part of what the bad people have done to subvert our society is they made Christians a valid target, which anybody can attack without any repercussion. Rusty, could you make the same comment? Well, maybe lately you can because it's the gloves are coming off. But over the last 40 years, could you make that same comment about any other religion without getting chastised or shunned or canceled? If you made a comment like that about Judaism, if you said the Jews are a vampire cult, well, you just put yourself on the chopping block. I probably did just by quoting the idea. That's not what I endorse, by the way. It never has been. Even with all my Robert Sepper talk, there's nuance there that you guys are maybe missing. I don't think Jewish people are bad at all. There's just a sect of people who claim to be Jewish that are the problem. Totally different story. So would it be okay to say that Norse religion is a vampire cult? Ooh, be careful, Thorne. Don't say that. You're going to trigger some of your favorite fans. No, fuck you. Let's be objective. Really think about it. Don't pretend that your shit don't stink. Go pay attention to your little, what do they call them, vulvas or whatever. Go pay attention to your little bloats and stuff. Go pay attention to your little groups. What are they doing? There's no cult mentality. There's no vampire cult. There's no pyramid scheme going on. There's no priest that takes all the credit and a bunch of people listening to them like a. How many of them tell you to think for yourselves the way I do? I don't want a fucking cult. I'd rather insult all of you and have you never come back but remember what I said. I'd rather call you all stupid fucks and have you go away. Thorne's such an arrogant prick. He talks down to everybody, but he made a point. I would much rather you hate me I want you to fucking hate me a little bit. I want you to be like, fuck this guy. I can do better. Then fight what I tell you and find out I was right. One of the best ways to prove a point is to try to prove its opposite and see that it's wrong. It's called falsification. I'd rather have you guys be like, Thorne's wrong. I know he's wrong. Look at his attitude. Oh, he's an alt-right guy, I bet. You're going to remember me. You're going to remember me. You're going to remember what I said. You're going to be like, I hated that fucker, but he made a point. And he was right. All right, let's scroll down. Let's see if we got any question comments. Let's see. Hey, Kelly, what's up? She says she'll watch this later. As Cyril says, just like the devil, I have many, many titles. Let's see. Yes, Be Great Anyway says there is a reason why Netflix is being flooded with World War II movies and shows and documentaries, as well as post-apocalyptic content, as well as all of that kind of stuff telling you about cyber attacks and alien invasions. And because this is all in the Overton window. And the social engineers, okay, let me give you guys some inside baseball as I understand it. It's not inside baseball because I am not. Oh, go out there with those short pants on, honey. Let me see you save that boiling pot. That's good. All right, cool. Pot boiled over. We're doing well. The white hats that are currently running things, I believe, you don't have to believe this if you haven't seen the evidence for it yet, but you will. I'm pretty confident you will if you look. The white hats that are running this operation, they didn't stop the Great Reset. What they did was like a really skilled judoka or a jiu-jitsu master. Instead of, like when I was taking and teaching martial arts, this isn't anything like that's technically, I don't think true. I don't think it's really true. I think if you go to like China or Japan, they wouldn't say this, but we taught it in our dojo that there's two approaches to learning how to deal with an opposing force, right? You can stop it or you can control it and redirect it. So because I went to like a hybrid style back in the 90s before you had MMA, this was the closest thing to MMA or just a more, let's put it this way. We actually had to fight. It wasn't just do these moves in a mirror. We did both. So we had very heavy contact, not full contact because there's liability issues. Very heavy contact. And one of the things that we were taught was not to just stop force, but to redirect it. Okay. So the white hats, this isn't just something that's true in physical combat. When you're doing asymmetric conflict, you want to use the enemy's bigger size, energy, and power against them. Just like you do if you're a diminutive person and you're fighting somebody like me. Let's say you're 5'2" and 100 pounds soaking wet. Do you think you stand an icicle's chance in the hottest part of hell if I decide to beat the living shit out of you without a significant amount of skill? No, because I am skilled and I'm big and I'm going to just roll you up and I'm going to crush you and twist you up and I don't even have to punch you. Okay. But what if I go against someone who's bigger than me? How am I going to prosper? Well, I've got training, so I've got a chance. I know I've got to do certain things to a bigger opponent. I also know a bigger opponent, if I hit hard as a big dude, I know that big dude's going to hit even harder. That's the thing. Two big people fighting, they hit that every one of their hits is like 1,000 hits. So they know how much a hit hurts, right? A little dude hitting you is like, shut up. Big dude hitting you is different. Okay. So what we're talking about is an asymmetric conflict. And it stopped being asymmetric. At this point, it's no longer asymmetric. But up to that point, what they had to do was redirect the greater energy of the Great Reset plan. They couldn't stop it. You could not stop this plan. It had too many generations of machinations behind it. The momentum is too strong. It's an inevitable thing. But the other half, the antithesis of that is also inevitable. So you have an unstoppable force and an immovable object. How do you make that work? You redirect one of them. Well, the unstoppable force can be redirected. It doesn't say it can't be manipulated, it just says it can't be stopped. The immovable object, well, it can't move. So it's going to get hit. So you got to redirect that energy. The inevitable is going to happen. So what the White Hats did, in my understanding, is they took every piece of their bullshit plan, everything they were going to do, and where they couldn't stop it, they leveraged it, they redirected it into devolution and exposure. They used it as a way to set up for the rebound. So the economic collapse behind the scenes, they've been setting up almost certainly, I can almost guarantee this, if I'm right, they have set up a alternative currency system that's going to be gold-based. It will be digital. Some people will not like this because it sounds like CBDCs. It's not CBDCs because it won't be a tracking system. It will be a validation tool. It'll be like the serial number on your money. Theoretically, they're not going to track it. If they do, then I will be livid about that. And I will be saying, what the fuck? This wasn't what we signed up for. And hopefully I'll either get educated to understand why it's okay, not re-educated, but actually informed, or something will change. Otherwise, I'm going to have to just keep on rebelling because we're not there yet. In fact, it'll be worse. If we get CBDCs, it is over. CBDCs is the nail in the coffin. If you get that and there's nothing that's fighting against it, like maybe initially there's still hope, but if it gets implemented and stays that, it's over. Just go find a place to spend the rest of your life and hope for the best because it's over without violence on a scale you can't imagine. So we don't want CBDCs. Okay. So behind the scenes, they knew the economy was going to collapse. They knew BRICS, the reason BRICS was doing what it was doing at the time was to destabilize the Western hegemony of the petrodollar. Once the petrodollar gets shit on, the Western sphere, especially America, gets subsumed, collapses. There's a power vacuum. Now you've got room for NATO. Now you've got room for China. You got room for all these things. And America will be too busy fucking its own ass for a while to figure itself out. By the time it's over, America's a third world country or a little bit better. Post-civil, it would have been a civil war of some sort, or at least something close. There'd be there'd be camps, okay? There would be all that, almost certainly. But that didn't happen. Instead, they used the same energy to crush the fiat system, the central banking system, to take away the Rothschild control, to take away the Vatican, the Jesuit, all these different groups that have control over the money supply. They got rid of them. They decapitated them. And they've been engineering behind the scenes a new system. And it will be gold-based. I am very confident. If it doesn't happen, I'll be very shocked. But I'll be very confident that that's what's coming. Now, there are, of course, speculators saying XRP and gold and silver and dinars and dongs and what was it, another one? Zimbabwe treasury notes or something like they're I'm not going to recommend or tell you not to recommend any of these things, but you might want to start thinking about, if Thorne is right, what should I invest my energy into to prosper when this shift happens, when this chaos occurs? How can I prepare so that if that happens, and he thinks it's going to happen, if that happens, have I made some preparations for that? And what do they look like? Are you going to make a preparation so you just don't go homeless or starve? Well, that should be the bare minimum. If you don't know anything about these subjects now, try to get on board quick because you don't have much time. But I got to warn you, you don't have enough time to get discernment about it. You're going to have to trust some people, and that's not fun. So don't risk a lot of money. Don't risk a lot of energy. But I have a system where I have a little bit of money that I invest in different things. It's not a lot. It might be $50 here. It might be $100 there. Maybe I'll buy some XRP or some Bitcoin or some gold or some silver or something. Just whatever little bit of money that I was going to spend on some bullshit video games that I don't play, I'll spend that money. I call it toilet bowl money, right? It's disposable income. So I'll put a little bit of money towards things like dinar or nothing too much because I don't want to break the bank. I don't want to be sitting there with money I could have spent on something better just sitting there. I put a couple hundred on stuff because some of these things, if the shift that I see coming happens, there is a chance, although it may be a fluke, there is a chance that those things could hit so big that on the other side of this, I don't have to worry about money ever again. Or I got enough money that I can land comfortably in the new system. Where in the new system I didn't go broke, I can buy a house or something. Something will change. Yes, the Rothschilds are part of the they, if you mean by the bad guy theys. Yes, they are. Absolutely. They're dead though. They're done. I think they're dead or captured. I'm pretty sure they're dead. Obviously one is, but I mean that bloodline is no longer at play. They've either been captured, killed, or exiled to as far as they could trace. If there's any holdouts, they're underground in deep underground military bases or something like that, or they're off-world. They're not on this planet in a way that most people would recognize. Okay, so whatever is left of them, they're no longer calling the shots. At the very least, they're decapitated. I think that they already gave them a tribunal and they're done. A lot of them, especially the big wigs. I think they're done. If you read people's energy, just if you can legitimately read people's, if you're a clear channel at reading people, like I am, that's one of the few things I'm really good at. Haha. But I mean, really like scary good at is reading people. Read Trump's energy. Does he seem like he's disturbed by any of this at all, for real at all? I mean that. Really read his energy. Does he seem like he is worried? Like, I don't mean, is he masking? Is he just really good at hiding that he's scared because he's a businessman, he's a high roller? No. Does he seem even like he's doing that? No. He's not worried at all. I watch him give the angry interviews about his conviction. And even in those, he doesn't seem upset. He seems like he's acting upset. So it's over for them. It's over for them. But why did they do it to them? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, Asariel. Do you mean why would some of the elites turn on the others? Same reason any king would go to war with another king. It could even be that they were captured. You guys do realize that in all probability, Putin was replaced, I think it was in 2013. Look it up. Putin was in I guess it was like a national prison or something. They replaced him. The guy that Putin was is not who he is now. His own ex-wife will tell you this. His own ex-wife will tell you they replaced him. The original Putin was a disgusting, mafiosa, deep state, KGB bloodthirsty murderer. This guy is a guy that calls himself Putin. He stepped in. He's a changeling. I don't mean that like in a mystical way, maybe, but no, I think he's just a body double or something. He's basically their Manchurian candidate with Putin's identity. That's what I think happened in 2013. And I think Russia's being run by its own internal regime. And we don't know who's really, we don't know who's running because it ain't Putin. Just like with Trump. Trump's not running Trump. I'm not saying Putin has no control or authority. I'm saying just like Trump, these people are figureheads and they're doing the bidding of deeper entities. And I say the word entity meaning mostly mundane people, but at the end of that rainbow, somewhere is a inhuman finger pulling the string. Probably. Or an off-world human, an advanced human. Something that ain't Trump and it ain't Putin and it ain't his generals and it's not. No, it's something else that's running that. I don't know what it is. You can just feel it. Because the way this transpired, considering how bloody and violent it would have been if it was done the old-fashioned way with a revolution, considering it's happening this way, is a miracle. And that kind of a miracle doesn't, I mean, I guess it could happen on its own, but no, it's not a miracle of chance, guys. There are forces at play that have decided this is what's happening. It's inevitable, because even if the Black Hats were to somehow pull out a Hail Mary pass and pull something off at the end, then the skies would darken with the ships or entities or whatever the fuck has an interest in what's going on, and they would still be doomed. It would just be an ugly ending instead of what we're going to get instead. That's my understanding. Maybe that's not your timeline, but that's the one I'm ending up in. Asariel, if you were watching earlier, you'd understand I can't do that. He says, okay, give me timeline for everything, when and how. I challenge you to go find oracles or people who have any real genuine truth sight of the future, who can be that specific, who you can count on more than one hand. I guarantee you, if you can find any, it's like one or two. I don't claim that. I'm telling you from both a combination of intuition and analysis, at the moment, this is what looks like is coming. This is the current reading. 5 minutes? Okay. This is the current read on where we're going. If I could give you what you're asking for, I wouldn't be doing a live stream about it. Understand? I'm not yelling at you. I'm just making a point hard. If I understood to the degree you're asking, I'd be out there making every move I could make to prepare so that I could come out on the other side and be a god. I would have every investment. I would have every prediction. I would go to every single gambling thing that puts this stuff on it. I'd bet on every single instance that they have, and I would be a fucking billionaire before this is over. I don't have that. I don't claim that. And anybody who does, run. Especially if they're living in mom's basement. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. All I'm telling you is what I see coming through my crystal ball, which is based a lot on research. It's not just the spirits are telling me. I don't have that degree of a sight. There's a storm coming. Do you ask the weatherman what time the storm will arrive exactly? Well, you can't tell until it's almost here. When the radar map shows it, oh, there it is. We're not on the radar map yet. I see a tropical depression moving towards us. And this is what I think it's going to do. Based on the evidence, based on what I see, the pattern, the history, the connections I have, the esoteric stuff I know. It's just a big analysis with my own brand of intuition thrown in it. So no, I can't tell you the timeline. And if anybody can, run away. If that's really what you want, I think you're making a mistake, because you're only going to end up being disappointed by them in the end. And if they do know, and they're one of the few who do, good for them. But I don't think you're going to find them. I don't think they're out there. I think you've got a lot of people who want to know. A lot of people who might end up being right, but they don't know. The only people who know what you're asking are the people who are deep inside, the people who are pulling those strings. And I don't have a connection to them. All I know is that if this was World War II, we're about to see the Battle of the Bulge. And we're about to see the final bloodbath in Berlin. That's where it's coming to. But we're about Battle of the Bulge, I think. Maybe a little further along. Maybe this is the Battle of the Bulge. Maybe that's what this was. But that's where we're about at that point. We've almost got to the point where we've got the it is over. It's just how many casualties are we going to take along the way? How much damage are they going to do before they're done? They're already retreating. They no longer control the board. They no longer have the power. They don't have the control of the money supply. They don't have control of the militaries. All they have now are their mid and low level operatives, the terrorists. They have the terrorists. They have the black bloc guys. They've got the far right fake guys, the Patriot Front guys. All of these things that are not the feds in MAGA uniforms. That's all they've got left. They do not have armies like they had. They do not have the control of the button the way that they used to, unless they instigate something. And they're trying very, very, very desperately to instigate something, because that's all they've got left. All they've got left is to instigate us into World War III, Civil War, basically use the plan, but finish it as best they can, hoping that that will create enough chaos that they can at least slip out the back door because it's already over. They're already done. They've already lost. And the ones who know it are trying to pull out everything they can to get out while they still can. The mid to low levels have no idea what's about to happen to them. The lowest of the low, they're just mercenaries. They're just third world mercenaries. They're cartels. They are satanic in their own words, by the way. Satanic. They like to make sacrifices, human sacrifices. This is not made up. You know me. I'm on the left-hand path. I don't like demonizing the average Satanist, but there are different forms of Satanism, okay? There are people who believe themselves to be working with the dark side. They get power from that. They do human sacrifice. These are the cartels. They take their marching orders from the various shadow governments of the world, and that's the ones you got to watch out for next. That's probably what's going to pop off in America, maybe Europe, because I think Europe's got its own element to that because you've got your replacement going on there. So who knows what's going to happen there? Maybe worse. I don't know if it's going to be as bad. Maybe it's going to be worse. But you're going to see it here probably and there probably before this is over. So can you send me firearms? We got blank guns, crossbows, bows, knives, and swords. But pew pew would be, it sure fucking would. But you're not going to get those. So I'm sure you're familiar with George Sprague. Let me show you its features. He's got a good accent like you do, brother. You should check him out if you haven't already. I think you'd get a kick out of him. But I think you probably know him already. He speaks both English and German fluently, so you can watch either one, and you probably get more out of his German one. I should probably get about both. But he'll teach you how to make fucking slingshots that'll kill a man at 50 yards, man. He makes some cool shit. So look him up. Let me show you its features. All right, guys, I'm going to have to go. That's the sound of the food cooking, and my wife gave me the final warning. So, guys, I want to appreciate you all very much for coming and asking your questions and listening to my crazy... Get over here with your little cute butt. Get over here.
It's been a while.
Oh, it's been So, be aware of what's coming. Be prepared. Don't be afraid. But if you're prepared... you won't be afraid because even if it goes bad, you'll go out like a hero. At least you're going to go out well. Like try to go out in a way that you can be proud of, right? That's my attitude about it. If it's going to happen, let me go out like a man. Let me go out like a gent, right? So yeah. Yep. All right. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, you know who he's talking about, a serial. Yeah, he's got a good show. Yeah. By the way, Stu says, greetings, DH. Warfare is a business as usual. That's what Eisenhower and Kennedy were warning about prior to getting moved out of the shadow government way. Some would actually say that JFK might even still be alive, that was his double they killed. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. If that's true, all bets are off. For all we know, we have been watching a war between the elites going on for the last 100+ years, and one of the players has hit checkmate. If that is the case, and I do believe it is, and I think only a blind person can't see that, I guess the only question is which one, but I think it's pretty obvious which one at this point. We'll see. It's still possible I'm wrong, but if I'm right, and if I'm right about who it was and what they represent and what's coming, boys and girls, all you got to do is make it through without losing your soul, your sanity, your humanity. Stop letting them teach you to hate. Hate, just like the Christians would say, hate the sin, not the sinner. Try to learn to acknowledge what they're doing, and I mean the average person around you, without judging them because they don't know what they're doing. I hate to quote the man with the nails in his hand, but he's right when he's right. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He's not wrong in this case either. In this specific instance, most of the people that have been calling you a Nazi racist asshole or a woke fool or whatever your personal side of the aisle is, and the other side, do not hate them right now because they have been conditioned and indoctrinated, propagandized into division and hate. And if they knew the truth, they never would have fallen for it. There are exceptions. Those exceptions are the kinds of people who did not have the ethical or moral character. That is, not the codified morality, but the compassionate, sincere morality, the morality that's just intuitive, that golden rule, empathic morality, not the kind that says the 10 Commandments, the kind that looks at the 10 Commandments and says, well, that one's okay. I get that one. You know, that kind of stuff. There are people who unfortunately showed their true colors, especially in 2020. All those people who wanted lockdowns and forced and to round people up, to re-educate them and all that, all of those people, they're hopeless right now. I don't forgive them because in their heart, they would have accepted what was coming. It wasn't a matter of just being indoctrinated. They're a lost cause. They're basically, even if they are indoctrinated, they're zombies. You can't help them anymore. The best you can do is if they were just zombies, useful idiots, and you can hope that maybe they'll wake up at some point. But some of these people never will. Some of these people, when this is over, they're going to think. I have friends who I am worried that when this is over, they're going to have decided that the bad guys ultimately won, and they're going to, who knows what they're going to do to cope or try to change it. So beware of them too. You can usually spot them because they're the types who will call you a Nazi because you have different opinions. So, all right, guys, this is officially it. So yes, Stu, you're not wrong, but it's a wild possibility. JFK may still be alive. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying there are some people who show some not convincing, but questionable, like, maybe you got a point. It's possible that he lived and his body double was killed. We'll probably never know. But holy shit, could you imagine if I'm right and we find out? Oh, that's some thorns cracking up if that's the case, because I don't even know if I'll believe it when it happens. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, have a good one. The food is coming out on the plate. Goodbye to everyone. Goodbye. All right, that's it. Goodbye.